Zohran Mamdani's fancy mansion, a pick that has surprised many. 220-year-old $100 million house. From a museum to mayor's mansion. Understanding New York mayor's traditional house.
Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX Explained with me, Vineet Malhotra. On your screens, you can see a federal-style wooden house, a two-story country villa which is overlooking the East River. This is one of the oldest surviving wooden structures in Manhattan, New York. This was built by an American merchant, Archibald Gracie, in 1799 and is now called the Gracie Mansion. You can see a symmetrical facade, an open veranda, and Doric columns. Color-wise, it boasts a charming combination of moss-colored shutters, spindly white railings, and butter yellow walls. But why are we discussing this is the big question you would want to know. Well, New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani and his wife Rama Duwaji will soon trade their Astoria apartment for this very Gracie mansion. Mamdani announced the relocation of an Instagram post on the 8th of January, sharing a photograph of a small-scale version of the residence displayed at the New York Botanical Garden. He wrote that this decision came down to their family's safety and the importance of dedicating all of his focus on enacting the affordability agenda New Yorkers voted for. It is one of the first federal-style mansions in New York City, spanning over 11 acres and valued at $100 million, and is called the Little White House. Let's dive a little into the history of this site. The house's site was previously occupied by Bellevue Mansion, built in 1770 for local merchant Jacob Walton and destroyed during the American Revolutionary War. In 1799, Archibald Gracie built a new house on the same site, which he used as his country home until 1823. The family of Joseph Fulke used the house from 1823 to 1857, and the family of builder Noah Wheaton used it from 1857 to 1896, when the municipal government made its grounds part of Carl Schurz Park. During the early 20th century, the mansion was used as public restrooms, an ice cream stand, and classrooms. Gracie Mansion housed the Museum of the City of New York from 1924 to 1936, and it was a historic house museum until 1942, when it became a mayoral residence. In 1942, Gracie Mansion became the home of New York City Mayor Fiorello Guardia, and since becoming the city's official mayoral home, 13 New York City mayors have lived in Gracie Mansion. Since then, the only mayor who hasn't lived in the mansion during their term was Michael Bloomberg, who was in office from 2002 to 2013 and served 3 terms. Early post-war occupants included William O'Diver, who moved in during 1946, and Vincent Impellitteri. The residence became more regularly used after Robert F. Wagner Jr. moved his family in during the 1950s. John Lindsay, Abraham Beam, and Ed Koch also lived at Gracie Mansion. Each administration redecorated and repurposed rooms to suit family life and official entertainment. In the late 20th century, David Dinkins and his family used the mansion both as a home and as a public venue. Joyce Dinkins famously read to children there, and the Dinkins hosted high-profile guests and parties. Rudolph Giuliani and Bill de Blasio continued the pattern of using the mansion for public events as well as private residence. De Blasio's move in 2014 was extensively photographed and covered in the press, including images of the family and of donated furnishings used in the second-floor living space. Recent mayors, including Eric Adams, have likewise used the space for official photos, holiday events, and public tours. Let's listen to what he said about the mansion.
People think I'm joking, but there's a ghost that runs around here. You know?
There's ghosts?
There's definitely, you hear them. I bet you ask.
What do they say to you exactly?
They're friendly. I guess they're Casper.
Fiorello LaGuardia, the first mayor to take up residence there, tried to rename it Gracie Farm. His wife hung the family's laundry to dry on the lawn for all the neighbors to see. Bill de Blasio had his security detail drive him from Gracie to a YMCA gym in Park Slope many weekday mornings because he missed his old neighborhood, a habit that earned him the scorn of tabloids and some voters. Edward Koch held on to his rent-controlled apartment in Greenwich even after his move uptown to Gracie. Michael Bloomberg decided to stay put at his nearby townhouse, which is even more luxe than Gracie, and used the mansion only to host meetings and events. There are many important personalities who have visited Gracie Mansion, including Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King held press conferences there in the 1960s to advocate for civil rights, notably addressing police brutality against a Harlem youth. Robert Kennedy launched his political career from the mansion's porch in 1964 with the blessing of Mayor Wagner. Mayor Koch hosted President Ronald Reagan in 1986. Mayor Dinkins hosted Nelson Mandela in 1990. The gracious wraparound porch, restored in 1983, is actually the historic site where the New York Post's founder, Alexander Hamilton, recruited investors for the budding New York Evening Post in 1801 and visited Gracie Mansion, including Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King held press conferences there in the 1960s to advocate for civil rights, notably addressing police brutality against a Harlem youth. Mayor Dinkins also hosted Nelson Mandela in the 1990s, as we have just said in the last take. And now let's take a look at the grand interiors of this mansion. One of the residence's most iconic rooms is the library, distinguished by its monochromatic teal design. Walls, carpets and furniture share a bold shade, creating a visually unified interior space. On the mantel sits the 2014 sculpture raised up by Hank Willis Thomas, described by the Gracie Mansion Conservancy as reflecting the American legacy of slavery and lynching, as well as today's mass incarceration. The mansion is considered so secure because the mission to make it secure began in 1929 when the city installed the property's first steel chain link fence, costing $2,000. Additionally, Gracie Mansion is surrounded by multiple security cameras as part of its perimeter protection, along with high fences and police presence. These cameras monitor entrances, grounds and public park areas to help protect the mayor and residents. Mamdani's move to Gracie Mansion marks more than a change of address. It symbolizes a shift in how New York confronts its housing and governance debates. His arrival places a vocal critic of inequality at the city's most storied residence, turning the mansion into both a home and a political statement. While supporters see it as a refreshing break from tradition, critics argue it risks politicizing a public landmark. Either way, Mamdani's move underscores the tension between symbolism and governance in a city grappling with affordability, power, and the meaning of public leadership.
Zohran Mamdani's fancy mansion, a pick that has surprised many. 220-year-old $100 million house. From a museum to mayor's mansion. Understanding New York mayor's traditional house.